What up, and welcome back to Boring Reviews. Nick there.
Jodi there.
And today we're watching or reacting to another QT.
Still waiting for someone to call me that. And the episode we're looking at.
You're such a cute.
Oh, thank you.
I actually really thought today, walking into the place that we went to, that you were like super cute. I was like, oh, you look good in that outfit.
Right, we're reacting or recording it right now.
Quite
She's gonna make me blush here. I guarantee my shade changed a little bit, but I appreciate that.
Oh, I can still make you blush.
I don't like compliments. But
I will not give you compliments.
thank goodness.
We are reacting to Cutting You Off versus Moon Landing.
So QI versus Moon Landing. Conspiracies. It just makes a difference. It is
QI versus Moon Landing Conspiracies. Now, we heard a little bit of an earful from our viewers, which was fine. It was actually very much enlightening that, at least when the Americans landed on the moon, that there was a British astronaut that stayed in space because he had to help them get back to the aircraft. Remember people saying that?
I don't remember.
And he didn't get to land on the moon. He had to
The guy was
man
British?
the spaceship.
No one knows that guy's name. Stop it.
And
you
that's
have
why
Neil Armstrong. You have Buzz Aldrin.
And that's why
No one knows the third guy.
That's why they got mad. They say, you know, the two Americans, but there was a British dude involved. So I'm just curious, like, does this have anything to do with this?
I'm going to look this up right now. Who was in a space shuttle in Apollo 11? Michael Collins. Okay? Is Michael Collins British? We're going to find out right now. That's funny. Because, again, I just proved it right now. I don't know what the guy's name was, for crying out loud.
He's a...
What? Well, there might be different ones. Here we go. Astronaut.
Yeah, I'll say that one.
An American astronaut.
People said he was British. I don't know.
Yeah, so this one says American. They might have been talking about something else. I remember a lot, and we're talking about the Al Murray video about the astronauts. I'm not sure what the exact name was. But I remember a lot of people saying in the comments, like, who cares? America really cares about the discovery or being first on the moon. Who really cares? And I get that perspective. If it's not really a big part of your country's history, why would you care? But there you go. He was an American. I didn't know who he was because, I'm sorry, I am not someone that does research on NASA or astronauts.
What? He was born in Italy, though.
There you go. I'm not a guy that does research on astronauts and all that kind of stuff, so why would I really care? I knew the other two guys because they're the guys that were there on the moon. And plus, Buzz Lightyear was named after Buzz Aldrin.
That's true.
The guy's name's Buzz, for crying out loud.
Poor guy. Now, just for anybody who's, so he's Italian. His dad was actually in the military serving in Italy. So, yeah. Anyway, back to quite interesting. Let's check this out. I always love what they say because usually it's very informative.
No, and there's so many moon landing conspiracies.
Oh.
I mean, they even did a Transformers movie about it, which, again, Transformers is ridiculous. But you can kind of believe it because there's so many conspiracies out there. Here we go.
Would you believe that they put a man on the moon?
Who? Hey, these guys?
NASA.
Oh, NASA. Yes, yeah, I think
Of course. You believe that?
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yes, you believe it. Good. That's all. That's sort of all at the end of the question, really. But you probably know that quite a lot of people don't believe it.
No.
Yeah, but well, I sort of believe one thing.
Yeah.
Which is I kind of believe that they might have done some mocked-up fake photographs.
Really? Why?
Because I was someone convinced me of it.
Yeah.
By talking about the angle of light and the shadows on the moon and all that. But then I did an advert with Patrick Moore, and I said, "So, Patrick, did they land on the moon?" And he looked so annoyed with me.
Yeah.
Actually, he explained to me how he had helped map the moon for NASA, and he'd spent years on the project, and the landing site was partly his idea. And if I ever spoke to him again, he was going to be sick in my eyes.
I love it.
They are rather tight. If you'd spoken to Buzz Aldrin, he might have punched you.
I was going to say...
Buzz Aldrin punched someone because he just got so tired of these conspiracy passes.
Yes.
I think it was a television documentary about...
Well, there have been several, of course.
You know, look at this photo. This couldn't possibly have been taken on the moon. This is obviously taken in a studio.
You're getting me started now because one gets very sort of strange about this. But there are a lot of conspiracies. 6% of Americans believe that man didn't land on the moon, but 25% of Britons believe that they didn't. So that's a quarter of our
So
nation are not convinced, apparently.
That's so depressing.
It is.
Thank you,
One of the
David
things
Mitchell.
I read.
The flag is another thing,
The
yes.
flag, and you
Yeah,
think,
but there it is.
Well, obviously they've starched the flag because they wanted to get a good photograph of it. They've stiffened the flag.
No, they haven't stiffened it. That's the point. The fact it's rumpled. There's no breath of wind out there, obviously, because you're in space, which is, as it were, a vacuum. But what there is movement. If you impart movement to something, it doesn't stop moving for a long time because there's no resistance against it. So they unpacked it, unfurled it, put it down, and it moved back and forth. People said, breeze. Ha ha. As if, A, they would be stupid enough to fake it and allow the tape that had the breeze in it to go out.
But also, if you went to the moon, the least you'd expect is a flag moved a bit strangely. You know what I mean?
Maybe one
you
way of
expect him to meet the soup dragon, you think, OK, he's not there. The flag moves a bit strangely, I can go with that.
Yeah. Why isn't one of them holding up a camera? Because you can see him reflected, the one taking the pictures reflected in the visor of the one, and he's not holding up a camera like that, you see. But that's because they didn't, in the visors, put a camera up in front of their visor. They were mounted.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Could really actually imagine them getting a camera out, you know, click, wind it on.
I'd like to go to the moon.
You would like?
Oh, yeah, I'd like to do that.
Yeah. I mean, two of the
That's
other
a great
things, just in
photo.
case people are saying, but you haven't mentioned the clincher. One was the idea that below the lunar module that landed, there was no crater or sense of disturbed dust. The fact is, the engine's cut off and it hovered down and it very, very quickly landed. And unlike in science fiction films, it doesn't send out spears of flame as it descends. That just didn't happen. So
because it was designed by, human brains and geniuses, and not a lot of people sitting tapping away at the internet who've got to go up to work in the morning.
Yeah.
You trust it.
We
Exactly.
are in trouble
I love
as
these
a
guys.
species if people refuse to believe in things that they couldn't actually do themselves.
So true. And the other one was the footprints. They said, look, there's too much moisture because look how clear they are. Only a sort of caked mud could do that, but actually you could do that with flour. The fact is, it's just very fine ground, and there's, of course, it's a vacuum again. It coheres. And the other thing with the mirrors that Apollo 12 astronauts put on the moon, which are now used for bouncing lasers off, for detecting, for example, how far the moon is getting away from us. And you can make incredibly accurate measurements because of mirrors on the surface of the moon. And perhaps to me the clinching one is that America's enemy at the time in the space race was the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
and not
same
once
Russia.
did they make a suggestion that they thought America hadn't done it. They never said, no, we know this was hoax.
That's such a good point.
The fact is, for every ill-conceived argument that the moon landings were a hoax, there's a perfectly logical explanation to put our minds at rest.
Oh, I'm so glad because, again, not that it triggered us in any way, but there were a lot of comments about the conspiracy of the moon, and I if you know me from the other channels that I'm a part of, I don't care for conspiracies. Gabe he loves to be the conspiracy theorist. I don't even think he has any conspiracies against this one, but I liken this to the flat Earth thing. I think the percentage was something like 10%, 10 to 20% of people in the world believe that Earth is flat. I don't understand it. I just don't. I don't get it. With all the evidence we have, how
All the
could so many
technology.
people ignore that and say, no, when I look outside the sky, I see it's flat, for crying out loud.
Oh my gosh.
It makes me embarrassed for the people that believe in that kind of nonsense.
That and that the Holocaust never happened. That kills me. And it's hard
Yeah.
because we have less and less survivors around now because, time's going and they're getting older.
Have you
and
met
passing away.
anyone that was in? I mean,
Exactly.
come on.
I'm like, but you can still see them in documentaries. You can go to the concentration camps. I mean, people still have journals, and I mean, it's just.
Even if it was a hoax, though, who would
devastating.
that benefit? Who's getting
Oh
rich
my
on the
gosh,
Holocaust?
I know. It's devastating, but it's sad that people think that is.
And you're gonna always have that nonsense, but it's just, to me, I'm not the most smartest person in the world. I don't think that sentence I just used was the most intelligent.
Yes,
one.
I'm not the smartest person.
Exactly. Not the most. But it frustrates me when it comes to just common sense, like common knowledge, this or that. In the movie Interstellar, it takes place in the future at some point, and they had gotten rid of textbooks because the school district did not believe they were telling the truth. And so the kids in that generation did not believe in the moon landing and other things because they weren't being taught it, because it was being kept from them, and that's just ridiculous. And I think they even had fake textbooks that said that we didn't go on. I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
It's like 1984 in that book. where they took and replaced history with what they wanted. And what is actually scary is some states in the United States are doing things like that. Like they're saying they don't want certain things taught.
Yeah, they don't want certain things taught because
my thing is you
crazy.
have to admit that you're not perfect and that our country has done wrong things. Not take it out. Like so many people are like, oh, I don't want to talk about slavery. I don't want to talk about, you know, what we did to the Native Americans. I'm like, no, we need to talk about it so we don't repeat it.
Yeah.
Talk about what America
just that.
did to the Asian Americans after World War II, after
Yeah.
Pearl Harbor was bombed. They were put in concentration camps.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of censorship because you got to see the ugly sides of the human life to be able to have a full human experience. But I don't want to get on that. But yes, you're absolutely right. Love this. Appreciate this one. I thought it was going to go a different way, and it didn't. Thank goodness. I love how David Mitchell was like, who are these people?
Well, and I loved how they brought up Russia, who was contending with America at the time, would have easily said, like, that didn't happen. And they didn't say that. Like, that right there should end it.
The thing about 1984, the book, though, is I hated the sequel because 1985 was not a very good book. But we're going to go ahead and end this video right now. If you liked our reaction, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Couldn't help myself. And until next time.
Goodbye.